Hi, hello. How are you doing today? I don't know why I'm snapping right now. I'm T. This is Cup of Tea Tarot, and welcome. Today we are going to be discussing my favorite major arcana cards in this cool hashtag called 22 Faves. This tag was created about 5 years ago, actually, but was recently revived by the curated shelf. So thank you for that because I have had so much fun watching everyone's videos, even the ones from 5 years ago. So I set some limits for myself because otherwise this video would be like 50 years long. And so I decided not to do more than one deck per major arcana card. I've done a similar challenge before and I did like 8 decks per card, and I can't talk longer than 20 minutes at a time. So one card it is. And also, I decided to not show a deck more than 2 times in this video. Just because when I was going through these, I was like, okay, I'm gonna end up showing like the same 3 decks over and over and over again. So I decided to limit myself there. Limits, good thing, yes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this fun little major arcana deck I have here. Okay, to start off, we have the Fool card here, which is from the Cosmic Cycles Tarot, probably one of my favorite decks because it tells this really interesting story in which the court cards are all recurring characters throughout the entire deck, which this is probably one of the few decks I've seen do something like that with. And in that story, our fool here is the main character. And according to the guidebook, she is leaving a toxic situation and flying across the country to a city where she only knows like one person. And as you can see, this is probably like a very last minute decision for her because that suitcase is very sloppily packed. She only has one, and she has a plant, and that's pretty much it. She's running like she's about to miss her flight, but I mean, look at that face. She does not care at all about anything except just getting out and starting this new journey. I love the detail of the wet floor sign, signifying that she should be cautious, but like she's just ready to go. She doesn't care at all. And I love an airport as the setting for the Fool card because I just feel like airports are where a lot of people are starting new journeys and new beginnings. And I just love this card so much. It was a no brainer to pick this one. Next up is the Magician. And so when picking this card, I wanted something that deviated from the traditional imagery of the magician standing in front of a table with all of his tools. Because even in some of my most modern decks, they still kind of stick to that. But I was able to find a card that did that in the White Lotus Tarot. So this deck is an Avatar The Last Airbender themed deck, and this is probably, I think, one of two of the only fandom decks that I own because, I mean, first of all, Avatar is like the best show of all time, but also because I just think that it is one of the few shows that is deep enough, not like deep, but like, you know what I'm saying, to have like a fully illustrated 78 card deck made for it. So this card shows Aang in the Avatar state. This is Aang, by the way. And I just think this makes perfect sense for the Magician card because the Magician is all about using your resources and your skills to be able to manifest your own success. And Aang spends the entire show, quite literally, traveling the world searching um, for new skills and knowledge and teachers so that he can hone his skills and learn all 4 elements in order to defeat the Fire Lord. And I'm just gonna go on a rant about Avatar right now. To defeat the Fire Lord and learn to control the Avatar state, which is the state where he becomes like this super all powerful being and essentially save the world. I like how it shows the 4 symbols for the elements because in the Magician card, he has the cup for water, the pentacle for earth, the sword for air, and the wand for fire. And those are all the elements that Aang has to master. I mean, that's kind of what the whole show's about. So I just thought this was a great pick for the Magician card. Next, we have the High Priestess, and I have a lot of High Priestesses that I love, but I had to go with this one from the Modern Love Tarot. And I adore this card so much because I feel like the High Priestess, she gets all of her wisdom and her intuition, not just from direct education, but also from lived experience. And so, because of that, I love that this is an older woman. I like how this still has a lot of the original symbology. We have the black and white pillars, except they're bookcases. We have the books on the bookcases. We have the pomegranates. We have the triple moon. And she just gives me this vibe of a grandmother who heard you crying in your room and she just immediately knew what was wrong and how to fix it because she's been there and she's experienced it all. And she's just gonna give you some pomegranate to make you feel better in the meantime. This card is just so cute to me. Next up, we have the Empress, and y'all, this was so hard. This was so hard to do because one of my deal breakers for buying a deck is that I have to love the Empress card, right? So, as you can imagine, I have a lot of favorites, but I had to go with my gut on this one and pick the Empress from the Superlunaris Tarot. This card, first of all, is just gorgeous. I love this card so much because the woman in it is the epitome of beauty and grace and femininity and contentment. She's surrounded by nature and light and in this place where I'm sure all sorts of creative endeavors can flourish. She has her basket of pomegranates, she has the Venus symbol, and I don't mind a pregnant empress. In fact, like a lot of my favorite ones are pregnant empresses, or at least include a mother in it. But I will also commend any deck creator that can make an empress card that is still effective, that is not pregnant at the same time. So I just love this card so much. I wish it was a print so I could put it on my wall. As for our Emperor card, this was also a hard one. I have so many different types of Emperor cards. I have some that go very light and it's just like a kind and gentle father, and then I have some that are very dark. So I wanted to kind of go in the middle for this one. Well, it's a bit more towards the dark side, but from a purely aesthetic standpoint, I chose the card from the Sasuraibito Tarot. This card gives me mafia boss vibes, if I'm being honest here, with the suit and the cigarettes. And I don't know if you can see it, but he's wearing like a gold ring on his pinky finger, and that just gives me like Sopranos, Sopranos vibes. This Emperor just gives me the sense of someone that wants things done the right way the very first time, and if you don't do it, you will find a horse head in your bed and your hand cut off, and this is not the emperor that you want to cross. So this is my pick for the emperor. Now, in my last video, I mentioned that I don't mind religious imagery in the Hierophant card. That being said, I do like it when a deck kind of leans more into the whole higher education aspect of the card, because when I pull that card for myself, that's 9 times out of 10 what it means for me. So for that reason, I chose the Hierophant from the Rosebud Tarot. I really like how this card has been renamed the Professor because that still puts her in a position of authority within an institution. I like how there are all these sources of knowledge around her. I just love the sense that she is able to pass down and share all of this knowledge, and in this place where a sense of community can be created and where traditional learning and socialization can take place. So, for the Lover's card, I was hard pressed to find a card in my collection that did more than just show two people in love, which I love. Love a lot of those Lovers cards, but I ended up going with the Lovers from the Numinous Tarot. This is probably the only Lovers card in my collection that shows more than two people, so that already makes it pretty special. I just really love how you can feel the sense of warmth and community and, well, love in this card. I like how, despite the fact that everyone in this card is very different, they all chose each other. And the creator of this deck actually has a book out about found family and finding your own home, choosing your own people. And I mean, you can absolutely see that in this card. So that is my choice for the Lovers card. For the Chariot, we get another card from the White Lotus Tarot. And I chose this card because the Chariot is all about being certain about your journey. It's all about knowing where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And I think Appa, this is Appa right here, this little flying bison, he is the perfect embodiment of that message because the characters in Avatar, they hardly ever pause or seem uncertain about what their next move is. They spend a year flying around the world, knowing exactly where they have to go in order to achieve their goal. And one of the only times that Aang in particular seems to lose his way is when Appa gets stolen and Aang gets really down. He falls off his path. He starts feeling very anxious and uncertain. But even then, he still manages to push forward until he eventually finds Appa again. So I just thought this was an excellent Chariot card. So for strength cards, I am kind of tired of the whole lion taming imagery, and I'm also kind of tired of the whole lion cuddling imagery. Like, so what I chose for this card was the strength from the Mermaid Tarot. I love this card because it takes strength of will and heart and also like physical strength in order to free a literal whale from what was probably going to be a terrible, terrible fate. But then this mermaid also gives the whale strength to move on and to save itself. And I just really like this card. It's so, I don't know, sweet. Now we're on to the Hermit card, and I get this card a lot. It's probably my most pulled major arcana card for myself. So yeah, I have a lot of Hermit cards that I really like, but this one from the NYC Tarot was the most relatable to me. Except for the view. I wish I had this view. Oh my goodness. So what I find really interesting about this Hermit card is that the person is cloaked in this dark hoodie, but as if they're like cloaking themselves away from the world, but then they still have all of these light fixtures. They have the lamp, they have the fairy lights, and of course the light from outside. The window appears to be open, I think so. So they're not totally closing themselves away from the outside world, but I mean, they're locked up in this apartment. They still have all of these books around them and they're on their computer. So it's clear that they're going to, get some studying done, get some introspection done, or they could be hiding themselves away from the world. You never really know. So this is just a very, very relatable card. The Wheel of Fortune was, I don't know why I said it like that. The Wheel of Fortune. Anyway, this was a tough card to pick because most of the ones in my collection, they're just a wheel. And I don't really know how I'm supposed to have a favorite of all those wheels, but I do have the Slow Tarot here with a very different Wheel of Fortune that I really like. I love the emerald, that deep emerald of her dress. That's like my favorite color of her dress against the gold background, the wheel behind her, the wink on her face, the way that she's flipping the coins very, well, flippantly. She doesn't really care how they fall, and just the idea that sometimes life can be a gamble and you just have to let the coins or the cards or what have you fall as they may. So, really great Wheel of Fortune card from the Slow Tarot. Next, we have my favorite Justice card, which is from the Light Seers Tarot. I really love how well done this card was. So, depending on the position you get this card in, you can either see that justice can be right and gracious and fair and timely, or if you get it in reverse, you will see that it can be wrong and cruel and unfair and maybe never even arrive or arrive too late. And I just love that sharp duality that is literally built into the card. I think this was so well done. As for the Hanged Man, we have a card from the Bright Future Tarot, and this was the deck. This was the deck that almost showed up in this video 7 times, so I had a lot of favorites from it. So this card I picked because it really shows that suspension and surrender of control. I mean, I've never been an astronaut, obviously, but I would imagine that it must be terrifying to be up there. You're basically like a passive victim to the cosmos, and I couldn't do it, but I commend all our astronauts. And you also get that new perspective from being literally in space. The Earth looks so small, and everything that we worry so much about down here just looks so insignificant in comparison. This card also makes me think of this one episode of The Crown, which is like one of my favorite shows, where Prince Philip becomes like super obsessed with the moon landing, and he tries to like live vicariously through the astronauts because in order to forget the fact that he's having a midlife crisis and that his mother just passed away. So the whole message of that episode is that he had to stop living through other people and come back to Earth, come back to himself and heal. And that's enough TV show talk, but that's another reason why I really like this card. The card I chose for death is from the Superlunaris Tarot, and I just think this card is incredible. You can see the forest in the background just going up in flames, all of these decades, maybe even centuries old trees just perishing, along with the wildlife. And then in the foreground, you have this little tiny baby tree beginning to sprout, and this figure freeing itself. And this card just has a really good message that even through change that we can continue to grow and that life can go on. So this is my favorite death card. For Temperance, I went with the card from the Wake Me Up Tarot. And as you can see, it's someone pouring themselves a nice cup of tea. This is Cup of Tea Tarot, so I had to pick it. My mom is from the UK, so it's been very embedded into my schedule to drink tea at least 3 times a day, including right before I go to bed. And the way this kind of fits into moderation for me personally is that my doctor was like, you have to stop drinking tea right before you go to bed. That's why you can't sleep at night. And I'm just like, no, you can't take this away from me. So this is a card that I get very often because it tells me to kind of just pull back anytime that I'm studying too much or working too much or drinking too much wine or spending too much money on tarot decks or skincare or books, and even now consuming too much caffeine. So this card just really exudes balance and stillness, and I really just like it. The Devil was another hard one because I have a lot of Devil cards that I like, but this one from the Tarot of Mystical Moments just took my breath away the first time I saw it. This card really shows that the things that can be the most dangerous for us can come in the most innocuous, innocent, beautiful looking packages, and how something can start off good for us, but can very quickly spiral into something that is bad and addicting. But by the time that you realize that it's addicting, you're already kind of trapped in this web. I also like how her dress is basically a mushroom because, I mean, the mushroom could very well be poisonous. So I just think this is a really, really good devil card. Next is the Tower card, and this is just an amazing, amazing, amazing Tower card from the Tarot of Mystical Moments again. The Tower here seems to be attached to this volcano that is finally erupting. And, well, a volcano is not the best place to put a tower, so it kind of shows that this explosion was inevitable because it was not put on a good foundation. I like how the smoke is coming out of this person's hair. I like how she's clinging to the tower, almost as if she's clinging to everything that she used to know. This card really shows that even though this change might be necessary, that it still is very hard to go through and to get over in the moment. Okay, we're on the home stretch. We're almost done. We're almost there. 5 more left. Star card. This is from the Cosmic Cycles Tarot, and I just think this is the sweetest, cutest, star card. So you have this girl who was looking through a telescope and managed to look away just in time to see this shooting star. It is so, it's just cute. That's really the only reason I picked it. It's cute. She just looks so hopeful, and I hope she's making a wish in it. So that is that. The card I picked for the moon is from the Bright Future Tarot. This card really focuses on that illusion aspect of the moon card. All of this is playing out on a theater stage. Everything you see is a backdrop, smoke and mirrors, paint, props. I love how it still has a lot of the original symbology, but puts it into this theater setting to really drive the point home. For the sun, I chose the card from the Hoodoo Tarot, which is called Big Mama. This card means a lot to me because grandmothers or any matriarch of a family keep the community together. They bring that joy and light and harmony in. I know my grandmother did that. So anytime I get this card, I think of her. I love how she has her key necklace, which signifies her openness, her plate of cornbread, because one thing about grandmas, they are always going to make sure you are fed. And I just really love this card. It's so warm to me. My favorite judgment card is from the Modern Love Tarot. I love and appreciate any deck that manages to put you into the card from your perspective. And while this is a very morbid perspective to be in, it drives the point home that you, specifically you, are being called to do something. Yes, we're in a grave. But this angel reaching out her hand shows that it's not over yet. You have more things to do, more things to get done, more lives to change, more calls to answer. And this is just a really cool card to me. Finally, we have the World card, and I could not think of a better card to end this video on. I chose the World from the Wake Me Up Tarot. This card really shows that sense of completion and achievement. You can see that this runner has traversed through so much and has finally reached the end of this journey. However, maybe there's another race happening soon, another marathon that she has to run. It kind of reminds me of the saying that like when one journey ends, another one begins. So if she wants to keep her first place title, she has to keep running and training and starting new journeys. So that's why I picked this card. Okay, yay, we're done. I have been talking for millennia now. I've been wanting to do this tag for weeks. So thank you so much for watching. And if you have the time, make your own VR. I've been loving watching all of these videos. So that's enough from me for now. Bye.